of PiggyVest, one of the largest and most trusted fintech platforms in Africa, serving over 5 million users with simple and effective tools for saving and investing. He's also the founder of Live Capital, an entrepreneurial support company that helps founders turn bold ideas into impactful businesses. Somto is passionate about building with purpose and backing the next generation of African entrepreneurs, creating solutions that matter. Please put your hands together and welcome Mr. Somto Ifezue to the stage. Just a reminder on your timer.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here. It's also a very big privilege. And I'm also very grateful. It's actually my first ever stage presentation ever. So thank you, Pastor Poju. Thank you for everyone. And thank you for the speakers. Today, I'm the fifth speaker, fifth and the last. So it's a serious challenge. Yeah. I'm also not here to motivate anyone. I think if you're not motivated already, it is well. Yeah. So I think I'm just here to kind of scare people, scare the young ones, and people who are trying to start. At least we're in a church, so yeah. I'm here to speak on entrepreneurship. From kind of a different lens. I'm also not here to talk about my story, so there's nothing about me going to be said today, just for today. So I want to talk about entrepreneurship, and I would summarize it, and I would actually talk about every example based on all the speakers that have spoken today, and talk about how they've actually applied what I'm going to say in their current lives, and yeah. So the first thing is entrepreneurship, I think, this is just me, is not what you do, but it's how you think. So I don't think it's based on action only. I think it's a way to think about stuff, right? And I think it's the art of creating value. And when we say value, I don't mean something necessarily of substance. I see value as anything that multiplies human effort. So I'm using this mic, and I'm speaking slowly or softly, and it's louder, and it's loud for everyone to hear. So this mic is of value, right? With a small muscle movement, I can enter a vehicle and put my leg in a pedal, do like this. I can carry 5 people from here to Ibadan, right? That means that car is of value. So value is something that enhances human efforts, saves time, saves resources. And people who create that value are simply entrepreneurs, right? So you don't have to have started a company. You just have to think about it from, am I creating something that can help someone improve their time, their resources, their efforts? Once you think that way, you are practicing what I would call, in this case, entrepreneurship. Just to bring the point clearly, is not creating a company, is not being a startup founder, is not being a CEO, is more fundamental, right? It's not a career path, it's a way of thinking. And every one of the speakers, if you hear them carefully, their thought process is not first what they get, is more like what they give, right? What they want to do, right? And that's what entrepreneurship is about. An example of a person who I would say is an entrepreneur, even though they don't have a business, can be a bricklayer, right? So they receive, let's say, 5K, and they turn that 5,000 naira into a wall. Once the person is aware that the wall they are going to create is more than that 5,000, it means that they know that they are offering value, right? The person selling akara, for instance, who is giving you akara is bean cake for the Africans, yeah. So the person who is giving you 4 pieces of akara, right, for 500 naira or 200 naira, is aware, right, that if you want to get that akara yourself, you have to pay transport, go to the market, buy the bean cake, grind it, go home, pay for, a source of, fire, either fuel or kerosene, to make. If you spend 200 naira to do that, or 500 naira, you might not end up with the 4 pieces. That person being aware that this 500 naira they're receiving, what they're giving you is actually far more valuable than the 500 naira. The person is aware that they're creating value. So if you think about it from, let's say, what they do every day. So early in the morning, they're probably preparing the dough, preparing the thing. The person is thinking of how sweet it will be for the person who gets it. He's not thinking about, I'm going to make so much money today. He's thinking about, they will like it, right? So that thought process is entrepreneurship also. Now, I want to go deeper into like what value is, because essentially, entrepreneurs, the only thing they do is they just basically create value. And I believe there are 3 ways value can be expressed, right? I think the first one is through a product, right? So, your iPhones, you just press in the screen and you can call someone that is not here. Ideally, you're supposed to like write a letter, find a way to post it, go somewhere to transfer that message. But with just a few, movements, you're transferring a message to a vast distance, right? With just a small effort. That's why you're spending a lot of money to buy that thing. You're buying something that saves you strength or saves you time. It can also be a service, right? So I think that should be straightforward, right? So you're offering someone a service, not necessarily a product. And I think also it can be you. So when you share ideas, right, is how value can be distributed. Now, there's something, when I was doing like this research on value, I think it occurred to me that, because I was thinking of how do I make people think of value differently and almost make it not optional, because I don't think it's optional, right? I think every human being is meant, and I'm sure if you hear the speakers who have spoken earlier, it's almost like they're charging everyone, you can do it, everybody can, right? But some people will just be like, yeah, I'm not cut out for it, or I'm not ready, or I'm not smart enough, or this guy is smart enough, or this person is better, or this person has a better experience, or this person is more privileged than I am. So that means it's not for people like us. And they'll never do anything about it. They'll just be there, right? And I think it's majority of those people, I would say, are in this part of the world where they just feel like I was born this way, so I'm not the kind of person that's meant to make a change. So I'm here to scare you today about that. I think the first thing is, when you think about, because again, part of the things you think about is, okay, God has Pastor Mr. Kola actually said something, that God is the ultimate designer, right? And I believe that so much, right? And God does not, what's the word now? He doesn't make mistakes, doesn't. So when God created man, before there was religion, before there was laws, countries, any sense that we have today, God gave us, or said, or made, well, I don't know how to put this, said something to us. He gave us the first command. And what he said was, be fruitful, multiply. You do not have a choice. I don't think it's something that you can say that you will not do. And even though you might not know how God feels about not doing that thing, because it's not really spelled out in the Bible very well, because there's a lot of emphasis on the 10 Commandments and not doing it and the repercussions. But we don't think about that first one before the commandments, which is be fruitful and multiply. So I have 2 examples in the Bible of how God feels about this thing, right? And I think the first one I'll talk about is the Tower of Babel, right? So these guys just decided that, we want to just play safe. We want to be, just modest and nice and, content. Let us build a castle, right? And stay here with our families and generations and just be here, right? There's no need for us to try to be ambitious and go to find and solve any problem. Let's just be in this space. Initially, I thought that the reason why God was upset was that they were trying to reach heaven. But in doing my research, I saw that they were not trying to reach heaven. They just wanted to just build that temple and just be there with their families and friends. And then God, altered a human being, right? So there was never a time in the Bible, right? I would say God altered his own creation. It was that day. He changed the languages of these people, because that's not the plan. I don't want you to do it for yourself and your children and your family. I want you to do it for the world, for this earth, right? And it's a very, very important thing. So God was so upset, and he had to change and alter his own creation, right? Very early in the Bible. There was also a time in the Bible that is a parable, but you can get a sense of, God's disposition in terms of emotions when you do not obey that first command. And I think that's in the parable of the talents, right? So the 3 talents, the first guy got, 5 coins. The second guy got 2. The third guy got 1. And the first guy multiplied his own by 2. The second guy multiplied his own by 2. So that's 10 and 5. And the third guy was just being a nice guy. Just play it safe. I'm not going to lose your thing. I'm going to keep my master stuff safe and sound. And when he comes back, he's going to just get what he gave me. And God did not say, I'm praising these 2 guys that did good job and you just shift. God was actually furious. He was not normal. He did not have a plain emotion. He was actually angry with the guy that returned back what he was given, right? He called him wicked. And one of the times the Bible, said someone is wicked is like witchcraft. So when you don't multiply, you're a witch or a wizard. It's just straightforward. Yeah, it's a direct, it's just very simple. To humans, right, we think of it as preservation. But to God is witchcraft, right? So very important terms. So everyone, I believe, is an entrepreneur, right? Once you think about creating value, once you think about what would make someone else's life better, right? What will make someone else bigger? What will make someone else more resourceful? What will save someone else's time? I think that once you think in that way, you will come up with something, right? It's not your idea. I actually don't think that people have their own idea. I think God gives the idea based on your question of what does this person need, right? You will get the answer in form of an idea, right? Now it's now left to you. That's now a you thing, right? To now say, I'm going to work hard or read, and I'm not here to talk about that part. I'm here to talk about the starting point, right? Dixon is a hard worker. So where he got the idea, he had to now read books. That's a different conversation. But this is just even, what do you want to do next? Is it for you or is it for humanity? If it's for humanity, you're potentially going to create value. If it's for you, I don't know what to call it yet, but I think that's like closing a transaction closer. You're not an entrepreneur, right? So your question is, what am I going to do for man? And I'm not doing it because I want to, right? So that's, sometimes we talk about entrepreneurs are resilient. It's because just that mindset of thinking of what to do for humanity means that if you don't do it, you keep seeing the problem every day not being done. And it's meant you cannot sleep, right? It means that your inner God, command is being triggered in your body back to back, right? So you will not have peace, right, as you're seeing that happen. I'll go to the different, speakers and some things. I actually wrote a couple of things down. Some things that actually resonated with me. So I think the first thing was when Mr. Zachary talked about, Nokia and iPhone. And that's a very strong example of a particular team who, at the time, was solving a problem, but they did not interface with the end consumer. That means they did not know what they needed at that moment, or even what they would need tomorrow, because they didn't even know these people, right? And there was, in the midst of that disconnect, that crowd of people who had some problems, one of the persons there, you can call him, Steve Jobs, just felt like people should not be suffering, pressing buttons on phones to, you can imagine the stage, right? People can call now, but one guy is still like, I don't think buttons should be on devices. From a place of empathy, it's almost like people should not be suffering. And if you listen to him, right, talk about, the reason for why is that simple. It's just that he don't believe people should be stressed about that thing they're always holding, right? Does not think that the button should hook and not come out, or the button should spoil, right? It's almost like an obsession. Like I don't want the case where the button, the P has come out. So can we do something that does not have button? It sounds crazy, right? Because people are already, enjoying this small device already, but someone is trying to go deeper into making you, kind of more useless just using it, right? And all of us agreed. And how do we know we agreed? Because we bought it. We're all using touchscreen anything. Whether you're using, Techno, is most likely touchscreen, right? So that's a pioneer move. And that's because someone felt that human beings should not be pressing their phones, right? Nokia would not have known this because they were in their bubble. They were in their bubble. So they were in this bubble, right, where they thought they were doing everything, but they did not go to see the world. Remember, God changed our language just so that we could see the world and touch. Yeah, thank you. Another person who, Mr. Kola, very strong personality, Sahara. Yeah. He talked about entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship, right? But there's this joke I usually hear where you say, what's your preneur? So it's not necessarily, the two of them are kind of the same. It's almost like intrapreneurship is a form of entrepreneurship. Yeah. So let's just talk it preneur. Anything you're going to do for somebody. So if you're working in a company, right, you don't have to start it. You're working in a place and you want to do your best work. It means that you're not thinking about it from a place of, I got paid 100K. I am going to deliver 100K value. You're thinking about it, I'm going to do my best. That means you're not thinking of the input of 100K. You're thinking of the output of the best you can do. That means you know in your heart that 100K is not what I'm going to bring out. Once you think that way, you are an entrepreneur. That's just the truth. That's what it is. Also, there's something he said that I believe 100%, right? But thank God he said it first. Because sometimes when I say it, it looks like you're being nice. But thank God, he said it. And it's something that I think we need to think about, because it's something you have to ask yourself. You have to think about it yourselves, right? and it's that you can't actually practice this entrepreneurship without having love. It is impossible, and I'm sorry. You can't. There's no way you can do it. Like, if you don't have love for the next person, what are you doing for them? Like, you can never do it. You do something that is substandard, right? So you can't practice this if you don't have love. You must have love for the next person, right? You must have love for helping someone else, fix their problems, helping someone else, save their time, helping someone else multiply their resources. Then, Mrs. Flora, fantastic speech. I think I copied the most notes from you. Thank you. And I think from what she said, Africa's solution is entrepreneurship, right? And that's very important to note, because over time, we've just been somehow content. Like, we're one of the only people that we're okay with just the status quo. We're somehow content with anything we see, we can live with it. But that's Babel people mentality, right? You're not thinking about spreading and creating value, thinking about, I'm okay with this 1 square meal, I will just manage it like that, right? So it's something that we have to change, right? To be more disruptive, right? To be more, we should challenge what we see, try to add value. And don't think about it from, let's continue with our, contentment as a people, but now think about it from, it's not about you, it's about the next person. If you're okay with 1 square meal, can you help somebody else get 2? That will force you normally to be more productive. So let's say you're okay with 1 square meal, but everybody's not you. Some people want 3. Help them get 3. Think of something that will improve their income. Think of something that will save their time so that they get more if you're okay with less. So again, it's not about you. It's a thing from God. It's a thing that God wants us to do, and it's a thing that we actually have to do. Some of the things she said was also very crucial. I want to use that as an example, right? So she said when she was, building out this business and this product, she noticed that hotels needed it the most. There's no way she would have known that if she did not have a communication of some sort, right? An information of some sort. And what does it mean for a hotel to have needed, the salt? It meant that for some reason, they were spending more or doing more to get that same thing, and she was going to give them for less. That means she was multiplying a resource that they had into either more salt, or more revenue, right? And that actually unlocked something for her, right? So entrepreneurship is only rewarding when you're able to transmit and transfer value. Yep. And also, there's also a pattern that she also displayed, right? So she mentioned, during COVID, for instance, talking about a tea dispenser, because people at the time could not go out. So you see the thinking, so you see the pattern, right? It is, we have this challenge. We're thinking about it as, these people there, they have a challenge. How do I solve it with what I know, right? And those things unlock, it's what we call innovation, right? It's what we call impact, right? It's just thinking of a way to solve someone's problem makes you look like you thought about one genius thing. It's actually just very simple. You thought about someone else, and you thought about solving their problems, and what you came out with is usually ingenious, right? And even with everything she has achieved, this is 30 years pretty much in this business, she's still thinking of what more can I do? She's thinking of impacting, sharing everything she has learned and giving it to everybody for free. That's the impact we're talking about, right? So she has even turned herself, she has built products, she has built service, she's turning her own self now into a service that's into value, right? So that's true entrepreneurship. So thinking about everything we've said. In summary, value is anything that multiplies human effort. Entrepreneurs simply create value. You do not have a choice. You do not have a decision to make whether or not to practice it. God has told us, and that's the fact. You can add it. You can make it the 11th commandment, right? Yeah, it's the 11th one. So he said, okay, do not steal, but don't remove the be fruitful and multiply. Just add be fruitful and multiply, and don't steal. If you're not practicing that first one, you are committing something. Yeah. So I think it's a fundamental task given to everyone. And I don't think it's something that you should decide not to do or push to the next person, right? And to be honest, Africa cannot afford it at this time for everyone to push the next productivity to the next guy. In your own environment, right? With what you know, right? You're meant to ask, how can I help my immediate environment, right? With what I know today, how can I add value to the next person, right? And usually, if not all the time, once you add value to someone, you would get a return. The return can be in form of money. It can be in form of another form of value. It can even be in form of even more information to create even more value tomorrow, right? But you only get after you give, right? And what you're trying to give is value. And once you think of giving value, it makes you an entrepreneur. So entrepreneur is not something that someone is, right? It's what someone actually lives every day, right? You're walking on the road, you're seeing something that is bad, you thinking about trying to fix that problem for the good of them, right, is what entrepreneurship is about, right? It's what makes you actually fulfill your existence mandates that you've been given. You're only existing here to add value to this world, to the earth, not necessarily to add value to yourself, right? Everything, if you look around you today, everything, the soap you used to shower with, someone actually thought about doing that soap. The cream you rub, someone thought about doing the cream. The clothes you're wearing, someone thought about it. What did you do for the world today? What did you give with everything you've received, right? And I think it's a question that everybody should just ask themselves. Are you giving more than you have received today on earth, right? And if your answer is no, it's a wake-up call for you to stand up and decide to do something. And I don't think it's something that you pray about. So I hear people say, I'm praying for God to give me the idea to start. I don't think that's how it works. I think if you look around you, you will see what icks you. And everybody has different things that, well, I say, are things that irritate them or things that they feel upset about. And everybody's different, right? Some people can be like, I like someone, or I like people to eat healthy. That means you're already called to do things about healthy foods, right? You can be like, I like people to spend more time with their families. You might be thinking about building a daycare or something. So like, whatever is your passion, right, I would say is your marker that God has actually given, as this thing will bother you forever, right? And the day you do something about that thing, then you are obeying the first command, right, that God gave humanity. Yes. So at the end of the day, the point I'm trying to make is think of entrepreneurship not as a job, right, or as something you're going to do tomorrow, or as something that is for glamour or that will make you better or make you look better than any other person. Think of entrepreneurship as the act of thinking about what to do for someone, for your environment, not necessarily thinking about it from a point of benefiting you or your family or your friends, but of benefiting the next person that you're seeing, right? So sometimes it might involve doing a lot of research, because if your environment does not have the problem, you might have to do a research to go further to see, if that other part of the world has that issue, right? So you think about it from, your job is to find the problem somewhere in the world and do something about it. You can also do the same thing within an organization. So someone might already have that idea, right, or something they want to do, and they want you to join them to do it. You doing your best part in putting in your own self and maximizing, right, that thing they are doing is also practicing that spirit of entrepreneurship. And over time, right, you might see yourself starting your own. You might see yourself even going deeper in this person's own. Like, for example, the example is Microsoft, right? This person was employed as I think it was a business development person, right? They had a contract, a 5% revenue thing, and the person actually put in their life into it. Yes, now they are worth 100 billion, but the person was not thinking about it from, I want to be worth 100 billion here. The person was thinking about it that I'm going to do my best, right, within this organization, and the result is what we're just seeing today. So I just charge everyone to think about entrepreneurship as something that you have to do more because God has said you should do it, and less because it's something that is a glamorous thing or is supposed to make you financially free. Because if you think about what Dixon said, if you think about it from that angle, he was not financially free for a long time when he was practicing the entrepreneurship that he was practicing, right? Until he learned where value was. That's where the problem was. Is when he found where the problem was that he unlocked, more growth and stability in his business. And I think that's the same for everyone here. So I charge everybody today to focus on that, ponder on it, think about it from a place of, as I wake up this morning, as I'm awake and I'm breathing, with everything I've received today, what am I doing to give more? And not say give back. You're supposed to give more than you receive, right? So what are you going to give more? And once you start finding that answer, right, start nurturing it. That's the beginning of a new idea, a new life-changing thing for the other person, right? So that's my charge today for everyone. Yes, thank you very much.